Okay everyone, here we are for mask making part 1, and we are going to be looking at the simple 2-layer mask, which I expect to be used most likely in care and residential homes for the residents. General public may also want them for themselves, family and friends. And if you have been watching the video that's been on the page by Erica, you're going to notice that it's very similar to her design. I've just adapted it for 2 reasons really. Lack of resource of the 5mm elastic, which we have been using. This is one of the 3-layer masks that we've been making with the cotton prints, using the 5mm elastic. This is in really short supply. Every man and his dog wants this all the way around the world at the minute, so I really can't get very much of it. You can get bits and pieces on eBay, and people may well have stocked up on it, selling it at exorbitant prices, but for our purposes I was able to get lots of the cord elastic, which is this one you may have seen used for jewellery making and all sorts of things. And there are a couple of reasons why this is good. Firstly, we can actually get it, and reels by the 100 metre, so plenty of it, it's not in short supply at the moment. Secondly, as Liz pointed out to me, mentioned when we were chatting about face masks, if the elastic on one of these masks breaks, who on earth is going to go to the effort of unpicking all of this, taking out a bit of elastic and inserting another piece? Nobody. If it gets broken, it's done, and all that effort is gone and wasted. I mean, if you've made it yourself, you might go to the effort, but anybody that you've given it to or gifted it to is probably not going to. If the elastic breaks in these, because we're making a casing to feed the elastic through on the edges, it breaks, you can just replace it, thread through another bit, your mask is still usable. So that's fabulous. The reason why we're using cotton is generally a very tightly woven fabric, flannel on the inside, it's brushed both sides, which means that any droplets that are coming out if you're coughing are going to more likely adhere to the fabric and not quite get through. There was a study done in 2013 by Cambridge University, and they were looking at individuals who had flu and the difference if they wore a mask and if they didn't wear a mask, what happened to the particles as they coughed out to people that were close by, and how far was the reach basically. And they found that just wearing a simple 2-layer cotton cloth mask was 74% more effective at keeping that enclosed and just with the individual is infected, and therefore you're not spreading it around, you're not spreading the germs around. So there have been studies done in this, and that's the reason why we're using cotton. There's another reason why this 2-layer mask is more likely to be used on residents in care homes and why it's useful for them. Masks should have a right and a wrong way out. Okay, I've designed all ours with different fabric on the front and the back. It doesn't really matter which way round you wear them, but you just keep the outside as the outside and the inside as the inside. With these, if you've got anybody who's visually impaired, if they put this against the face, it's nice and soft, they can actually tell it's obvious that this should be the outer layer. So that's another reason why we're making them like this. This elastic also helps to gather them in at the side through the casing, which makes them a little bit more fitted than these. I don't know if you've tried one on, but I've found that when I've tried these on, these are actually quite big for me and it's quite loose. If you wanted to with this one, you could cinch it out the knot, tie it a bit tighter, feed it back in, although we are probably going to anchor in the elastic once we're sure that everything's in and the fit is right, so that the knot doesn't come out and irritate. Jacqueline gave me the top tip that this is going to gather nicely and be a bit more fitted, so thank you very much for that. It should offer a bit better protection because of that. There is possibly a slight compromise in comfort. Because we're making these more quickly, we're creating them with a casing, and there's going to be a bit of a raw edge on the inside, resting on the cheek. If we've got overlockers, you can overlock these, and I am actually going to ask some of the scrubbers to do some of these to get a good stock up. We've already got care homes asking for these in numbers of between 200 and 300, so we are going to need a lot of these. But absolutely no reason why you can't do this on a sewing machine with just your straight stitch and zigzag over edging stitch. It'll do the same job, okay? So don't worry if you don't have an overlocker. These are designed really to be made on a sewing machine. Can just be a little bit quicker if you do have an overlocker. You're going to need a pair of scissors. We're going to need some cord elastic, and really until my order comes in, literally that's it girls. I have got about 80 centimetres of this cord elastic left, not in a pack ready to come out to you. So we need elastic, we need a bodkin, or something like this sort of a needle, a knitter's needle or a darn, or something with a really big eye that will take the cord elastic through without any hassle. Okay, you need to be able to thread the cord elastic through, simple as that. Darners are great. Pencil, chalk, something to mark up your fabric, a ruler, steel ruler is great if you've got one. I feel a bit like Blue Peter with this one. We're actually using a bit of a cereal box. There's my cornflake packet. If you've got actually one of these, this is possibly even better because they're more rigid. Set square, if you have one. It needs to be quite a large set square. It needs to be a minimum of 23 centimetres. Pins, always need your pins for sewing. A threaded up sewing machine. And then we are good to go. Oh, iron. You cannot do this quickly and efficiently without an iron. Steam iron if you've got one. And then we are raring to go. Let's have a look then at the fabric and what you will get in your pack. So in your pack you'll get a nice bundle of elastic. You'll get a nice bundle of fabric. I'm just going to show you the 3-layer one, a lot of fabric here, just because I'm not going to go through and explain how to make the 3-layer masks, because they're exactly the same as the 2-layer masks, apart from they've got an extra layer of fabric. So let's just have a look at how they're going to come. So my sister has been extremely busy cutting and prepping all these for you lovely ladies out there to sew into masks. So you're going to get 3 layers of 60 centimetres of fabric right away, folded across the bolt, okay, if that makes sense. So you've got 1 layer of cotton print. Facing it in your pack is a 2nd layer of cotton print, a different cotton print, and then on the 3rd layer is our piece of flannel. So this one is obviously a blue gingham, and that is how they are meant to lie. She's prepped all these so that you don't have to do any fussing or laying out. All you have to do is just make sure that the edges are matching up. They might have moved around a little bit in the bag. I'm sure she got them matched up beautifully because she's a bit of a perfectionist. And all you need to do is unfold it, lay it out on your table with the flannel facing up. Let's just make a little bit of space. Get your ruler and you're going to cut 3 20 centimetre strips. So measuring down 20 centimetres, measuring down your 20 centimetres, mark it out. You should be able to use the gingham. Again, we're really lucky with the gingham in that mostly the marks that we want, the 20 centimetre mark, seems to be on the edge of one of the blocks of gingham. So you should be able to cut them really easily. Absolute dream if you've got a nice metre rule and a rotary cutter and a cutting board, but even easy if you've got scissors. If you really want to, you can use your ruler and a marker, pen or pencil and to mark your line on. I'm not going to go to the effort of that because in true Blue Peter style I have got one here that's been prepared earlier, 2 layers of fabric ready for me to go cut out to 20 centimetre depth. So we have the fabric nicely laid out on the table, our 2 layers, flannel one side, cotton print on the other, 20 centimetres deep and 112 centimetres across. First job is to just pin the 2 layers together. Flannel is actually quite sticky, so you might feel that you don't need as many pins as you would normally use, and that's fine, just go with what you feel you need. I'm using my quilting pins again because I like to be able to cheat a little bit and sew over them. Pin that edge, flip it over so we're looking at the cotton print side now, and pin the other edge. Okay, again, as many pins as you like. And what we're going to do first in terms of sewing is we are going to just sew this seam all the way along, flip it over, sew this seam along. The reason I flip my fabric is I always like to start sewing in the top left hand corner so that the excess of the fabric is hanging off the machine and that all you've got actually under your presser foot is the seam allowance, everything else hangs over. So that's why you need to flip it so that that becomes the top left hand corner when you sew the second seam. We're just going to sew 1 centimetre seam allowance all the way down both edges. So we need a 1 centimetre seam allowance. I think I showed you on another video, but if you haven't seen it then I'll show you again here. Then you can check, I'm going to use the edge of my presser foot to just help me with my 1 centimetre seam allowance. I'm using a gauge just to check that that's right. I don't really need to check it. I know that it's a centimetre because this is my machine and that's my presser foot. But if you're not aware of that, the central line, the groove in the middle of your foot, marks where the needle is going to enter your fabric, and so you measure from there to the edge and it'll give you the seam allowance if you allow the foot to run up along the edge of the fabric. If your foot's quite narrow and you want something else to help you, you can either use the little grooves on the sole plate, which are usually 5mm increments away from your presser foot, and if you want anything like this is really helpful as well, that's another little guide. They're magnetic, they stick to your sole plate. I'll sew this using that so you can just see how it works. They're really great, handy little gadgets. So you want your fabric to just run up against your presser foot. Foot down, back stitch. Back stitch, job done. Okay, so now we're going to flip the fabric the other way up and we are just going to sew the other side. Print side up, press foot down, forward, back stitch, same as before. Now, if you've got all this prepped, I would pin all my 3. I'm only going to do 1, but obviously you're going to cut your fabric into the 3 strips of 20 centimetres. So you pin all 3 together, then sew all 3 together. It's going to be a lot faster to do it like that. And I know you're probably thinking, well, how does that work, Fee? How are we going to turn this into face masks? Well, actually, we're going to turn these into 5 face masks, and I'll explain that as we go.